Beloved Madridistas, welcome back. Welcome back to Madrid. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, thank God that Xabi Alonso is the manager of Real Madrid and not me. Thank God that Xabi Alonso doesn't listen to me. In my previous video, I was suggesting that I would maybe start Rodrigo up front on the left instead of Vini based on what I was seeing. And that's all it took for me to say that, for Vini to come out and have an absolutely fantastic, exceptional performance. He had an absolutely fantastic match, made me eat my words. So Vini, congrats for an amazing night. Look, this was not a great performance. I think this was a pretty good performance, but I wouldn't say great. But look, after the Atletico, the defeat in the Wanda Metropolitano, it's just... It kind of, everything with Real Madrid is so amplified. It's the only club in the world where, one defeat and you would think it was the end of the world. We need to be honest. Yes, this is a team that still needs work. We create a lot of chances, but our finishing needs to improve. The first goal needs to come a lot faster. We need to defend better, set pieces, aerial play, defensive transition, all that. All of that is true, but... this is an amazing squad. This is an amazing squad. Incredibly, the quality in this team is amazing. It's a young squad, very, very deep. We have so much talent. I'm excited. I think we can win a lot of things, and we need to zoom out a little bit and calm down. One match, one defeat does not a season make. So I'm feeling a lot better about things. But anyway, let me give you my thoughts on the match yesterday. We'll talk about the match, players, etc. Thanks for joining me. As always, lots to discuss. So let's get started. Madridistas, welcome back. Okay, let me give you my thoughts on the match last night. Now, the lineup is always an interesting discussion with Xabi Alonso. My God, I mean, this guy, it's so difficult to guess his lineups. So this is what Xabi Alonso came out with. Now, it's not entirely shocking, but there are a couple of things that we need to discuss. Now, the first thing you'll notice is Fede. Now, where they placed him here in Real Madrid television isn't really where he played. He did play sort of right back. Look, I need to discuss the whole controversy last week. You guys may have come across with Fede Valverde and the press here saying that there was an issue with Xavi, that Fede didn't warm up because he doesn't want to play right back. Okay, this is bullshit. You guys, you need to understand, when you live here, the people that run Grupo Prisa and Marca and AS and all these publications, they're totally anti-Madridista. Every single year they make up stories to try to destabilize the squad. It's, Vini and Rodrigo don't get along, and then it was this guy or that guy, or, that there's an issue with, they're always making something up. And the latest attempt to destabilize us was that somehow Fede doesn't want to play right back. So they take an interview where he says that he doesn't like to play right back, but that he'll do anything that the manager asks him to do. And then they only take the clip where he says he doesn't like to play right back, and they try to use that to spin some sort of problem. Look, Fede played right back for most of the match. He did drift to the middle a lot, had some amazing runs, but he did play right back, and he did it with a smile on his face. So please don't listen to the bullshit the media here tries to spin. Okay, another observation we'll make in the lineup is the fact that Jude is on the bench and Ceballos is starting again. Now, I think this is interesting in a couple of respects because, surely Jude must be match fit because, he started 2 matches ago at the Wanda, which was a massive mistake, and I think Xabi recognizes that now. But it was a little bit surprising to me to see him on the bench yesterday. Now, was this tactical, strategic, or does this have something to do with his physical condition? I'm not sure, but it does raise, I think, a few question marks, the fact that Jude started on the bench and Ceballos played as a starter. Now, I assume this has something to do with Jude's sort of condition physically, because I have a very hard time thinking that this will be repeated. I can't imagine Ceballos taking Jude's place in the starting 11, but that was noticeable. And then the other very noticeable thing, obviously, is Vini starting on the left. Again, in my previous video, I kind of suggested that based on what I was seeing and Vini kind of being inconsistent and sort of out of form. By the way, I did get a lot of shit for it in the comment section, which is fine. I totally accept that. But based on what I was seeing, I was sort of advocating for Rodrigo to start on the left. Well, he didn't do that. He started Vini again, and that would turn out to be the right decision because, like I say, Vini had an absolutely outstanding match. Okay, look, in terms of the match itself, I give credit to Villareal because, most teams come to the Bernabeu and they just sort of lock up in the back. And Villareal didn't want to do that. They really tried to play. They tried to push forward. They tried to play in possession. They definitely tried to counter whenever they could. So I do give them credit for being a little bit more positive in their approach compared to a lot of teams that come through the Bernabeu. The first few minutes were sort of a back and forth, but as the minutes went by, we sort of got a grip on the match with longer possessions, creating more chances. Vini, there's something that I kind of made a note of mentally in the 5th minute, which was Vini backtracking really significant to help press the ball and recover the ball. The first time he did it was in the 5th minute, but I made a mental note of it because this is something Vini has been doing a lot more of. So yesterday, we're all kind of talking about his offensive prowess, but he is working a lot harder in defense, and he's backtracking a lot more than we've ever seen Vini do. So that was very positive. Okay, in the 6th minute, Arda had a chance. The ball went high. Villareal did try to counter. Like I say, they tried to take their opportunities to counter. In the 19th minute, Oluwaseyi had a really good chance in front of Courtois. After about the 20th minute, it really just became a series of chances. We were creating so many chances. Mastantuono, Arda, Kylian, a very, very active Vini on the left. We were, really creating a lot of chances, but none of them going in, which is one of the frustrations I have with the squad this season. In the 23rd minute, we had a fantastic chance by Mastantuono, a great play by Kylian on the left, puts the ball in the middle of the box, and Mastantuono, I think strikes the ball perfectly, but it was deflected sort of in the last millisecond. Very unfortunate. But like I say, we were talking about it in the stadium yesterday. We're like, man, we create a lot, we generate a lot, but why does the first goal take so long? It's something that kind of frustrates me this season. We're generating good play. We're playing well, but we create a lot of chances, but somehow in that final third we're just a little bit imprecise. Okay, in the second half, finally the goals came. Now in the 46th minute, Vini scored his first goal, and this was a little bit fortunate, based on the deflection that the ball took. But I think that honestly, in fairness, this is kind of rewarding insistence because Vini, we have to give him credit. He tried over and over and over, and sometimes when the precision isn't there, you just have to keep trying until you get a break. And that's exactly what happened with Vini. The 1-0 in the 46th minute. Now after that, the match opened up. Even more, it just felt a little bit more open, a bit more back and forth. There seemed to be a little bit more space, and we created a series of really, really good chances. Mastantuono had a good chance in the 52nd minute. In the 55th minute, Tchouaméni, a very good shot from distance. Even Huijsen had a chance in the 56th minute. But it was much more flowing football than what we saw in the first half. Now we had the first changes in the 63rd minute. Arda Güler and Ceballos came off, gave way to Jude and Camavinga. And then in the 6th minute, we had the penalty. Now, I have to say I was a little bit surprised that this was awarded. I thought it was a very soft penalty, to be honest. Yes, there was contact, and maybe technically it was a penalty, but I think it was a little bit harsh. I mean, the ball looked like it was going out of bounds to me. I think if you look at the totality of the play, it's maybe a penalty that I wouldn't have awarded. But, was there contact? Yes. Was there a foul? I mean, I think technically yes. So I understand that they called it. I was very surprised that they called it. Now, Vini ended up putting the penalty in, and we have to talk about this because, you could see a discussion between Vini and Kylian. And we know that Kylian is supposed to be the primary penalty taker on this squad. But he let Vini take the penalty. Now, let me just give you my opinion on this. Now, I think it's wonderful that the players love each other and, get along and kumbaya and all that shit is lovely. But, there are rules and there's a hierarchy, and I think that we need to be serious about this, okay? The reason that Kylian is the primary penalty taker in this squad is because he is better at it, okay? If you compare Vini's penalties to Kylian's, Kylian strikes the ball much, much harder. Kylian gives me much more confidence when he kicks a penalty compared to Vini. Vini hits them low and slow, and that is the last thing you want to do in a penalty is kick it low and slow, because then you're looking at a 50-50 chance of the goalkeeper stopping it, and those odds are just not right. Okay, this has, you have to kick a penalty and put enough power on the ball that even if the goalkeeper dives the right way, that he just has no chance of stopping it. That is how you should kick a penalty. And think of Beckham and Zizou and Cristiano. Like, these guys kick the shit out of the ball, and the goalkeeper had never had a chance. Now, Kylian is much more along those lines than Vini. Vini is not a great penalty taker. Now, I'm very happy that they get along and all this kind of stuff. It's a beautiful gesture, and there's camaraderie and all this sort of stuff. But there are rules, and they need to be respected. And there is a chain of command, and I think it needs to be respected. And Xavi addressed this in the press conference. He made it. They asked him the question, and he answered diplomatically but brilliantly. He sort of said, yes, Kylian let Vini take it, which is a really beautiful gesture, but Kylian is our primary penalty taker because he is the most effective. And he reiterated it, and I think it was his way of saying, look, all of that is very cute, but from now on, you do what I say, okay? You do what I say. You don't get to decide on the pitch what you guys want to do. Anyway, okay, I needed to comment on the penalty because I thought that was an interesting situation. Okay, in the 70th minute, there was another penalty that wasn't called. I think this one, maybe more clear than the one that was awarded. That was in the 70th minute. Jude had a very good chance in the 71st minute, and he was really pissed off he didn't convert that. I don't know if they caught it on the TV cameras, but after he missed that chance, man, he was pissed. He was swinging his arms in the air. He really wanted that goal. But anyway, now the 2-1 came in the 72nd minute. And this was, look, we obviously need to improve defensively, and it's one of the takeaways that we'll discuss. We clearly, this was a situation that didn't need to be dangerous, but we left the Villareal player was at the edge of the box, at the top of the box, and we just left him one second, a little bit too much time. Now, yes, it was an incredible shot, incredibly precise. I mean, pretty much unstoppable because it went right next to the post, and he kicked it with quite a bit of power. But still, that is a shot that should have been blocked. It should have been deflected. Somebody should have been in front of him and making that shot impossible. So I think defensively we still need to improve, and I think that 2-1 was a bit of a warning in that regard. Okay, in the 74th minute, Mastantuono came off and Brahim came in. Another thing that I want to sort of share with you guys is the standing ovation that Mastantuono got when he was substituted. And I think it's really interesting. And Mastantuono has earned the love of the Bernabeu very quickly. And the reason, I'll share the story with you guys, when I used to watch Raúl, the Bernabeu, one thing that the Bernabeu absolutely loves and rewards is effort. Raúl, if you remember, who was a wonderful player, he was adored by the Bernabeu, not just because he was a great player, scored a lot of goals, but he would make these impossible runs to try to, when he would press, he would chase the ball 30 meters to a ball that he's never going to get to, but he constantly kept running after the ball. He would make such an incredible effort pressing that, the Bernabeu just loves that. They love work. They love sacrifice. You can screw up and the plays maybe won't work or the ball won't go in. But what they will not, forgive is not giving 110%. And the Bernabeu loves a player that gives everything when he's on the pitch. And Mastantuono has that. Mastantuono has this hunger, this aggressiveness, and this work rate that the Bernabeu loves. So he went off the pitch on the other side of where we were. And he came around behind the goal over to sit with the rest of his teammates. And as he went along, the entire stadium would sort of stand up and applaud him as he walked around. And that's not something that happens all the time, I can tell you. But he has won the love and affection of the Bernabeu by virtue of his attitude. And it's contagious, and I think very positive for the team. Okay, so that change was in the 74th minute. Okay, in the 76th, we had the red card. And I have to say, this was, again, I'm surprised that they called it. I think the reason that they called this red card is because there were tons of yellows that the ref had completely missed. Up to that point, the card situation was ridiculous. There were so many situations where they deserved a card and didn't get it, and we were getting cards for nothing. I think we got 2 yellow cards for nothing, literally for very, very soft fouls. And I think that there was an element of compensation for that. I think the ref knew that he had been sort of too skewed in one direction. I was a bit surprised that they gave the red card. There's very little contact if you watch the replay. There's very little contact on Vini when he's making the run. It's not so much about the extent of the contact as the momentum and the timing. So this was clearly a dangerous situation. Vini was running. He was off to the races. He would have been on his own. And I think that that's the reason that the red card was pulled out, much more so than the actual contact itself, which I think was very light. But again, I think this was sort of, a bit of a, soft red card that I don't think I would have awarded. That was the red card in the 76th. In the 80th minute, we had the 3-1. And this was just a beautiful play between Mbappe and Brahim. And we have to give Brahim credit because, he had the shot, could have taken the shot, and would have probably scored. But the higher probability of success decision is what he did, which was to put the ball back in the middle to Kylian, to instantly return the ball. And that threw everybody off. And it was just an easy tap in for Kylian. But very intelligent play by Brahim, very generous play by Brahim. And I love that kind of collective, the quick 1-2s. I'm a sucker for that shit. I absolutely love that kind of football. It was just a beautiful play between those two players. Okay, in the 83rd minute, Kylian came off, gave way to Rodrigo. And then in the 91st minute, there was a very clear penalty on Rodrigo, and I have no idea why this one wasn't called. I mean, this one was 10 times more obvious than the Vini one that was called. I have no idea how everybody just kind of went on with their business. This was a clear penalty to me. But anyway, that was the match. Now, in terms of takeaways, look. All right, let's start with kind of broad takeaways. Okay, number one, the team still has work to do, okay? We create, like I say, we create a lot of chances, but our conversion rate is not high enough. We should be scoring more goals based on what we're generating. We should be scoring a lot more goals. Like I say, and this is sort of the flip side of the same coin, the first goal is taking too long to go in. I don't know why this season the first goal seems frustratingly slow to arrive. So again, I think we need to improve on our finishing in the final third. We definitely need to improve defensively, and that is an obvious takeaway. I think set pieces, aerial play, and sometimes in defensive transition. And I think Huijsen got caught out in defensive transition a couple of times yesterday. I think because we play such a high defensive line, which is very helpful when we're in possession because we recover the ball very quickly. We kind of smother the opponent. We have so many bodies up front that when we lose the ball, everybody presses and we're very successful at recovering the ball quickly. That is the advantage of having a very high defensive line. Now, the drawback and the risk of having a very high defensive line is that if you lose the ball, you're very, very exposed. And so that defensive transition, when you do lose the ball and you have such a high defensive line, that recovery needs to be faster. I think we're a little bit slow in defensive transition. I noticed that definitely yesterday on a few occasions. But another takeaway that we have to acknowledge is that this is an excellent squad. The amount of quality that we have is crazy. This is a ridiculously young squad, so deep. We have so much talent. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I'm sorry, but the raw material is there for us to win a lot of things with the players that we have. Yes, we could improve a line here or there with a player coming in certain positions. Yes, you can always improve things. But with the lineup that we have now, the squad that we have now, I think is absolutely excellent. And I think we can expect to win a lot of things. Okay, number 4, my fourth takeaway would probably be that Xavi learns from his mistakes. I think the fact that he didn't start Jude, which I would probably attribute to something physical rather than tactical. But I think it tells us that Xavi learns from his mistakes. If you're not 100%, you're not going to play. And I think maybe Jude wasn't 100%, and maybe that's why he didn't start. But it seems obvious to me that Xavi learns from his mistakes. I think that's a positive takeaway. Okay, number 5, Kylian's going to be the penalty taker, and I don't think, the little shit show that we saw yesterday with sort of you do it, no, you do it, no, you can have it. I don't think we're going to see that again. I don't. I think that Xavi implied it in the press conference, and I think privately probably said it more emphatically. I don't think we're going to see that again. I think Kylian will be the penalty taker going forward, which I think is a great idea because he's a much better penalty taker than Vini. Okay, another takeaway, the card situation. Look, I know we got a couple of favorable calls last night, and I was absolutely shocked. But the card situation is always crazy. I mean, no matter what game you watch, we always commit fewer fouls than our opponents, but we always end up with more cards than the opponent. I mean, that ratio of sort of cards to fouls, I mean, we are always worse off than our opponents. It's something that I've noticed, but it's kind of, I haven't done the numbers on it, but when you see something so regularly, it just kind of sticks in your head. It just seems to be the case every single match. So, the refereeing situation here is still appalling. Okay, let me give you my thoughts on players real quick. And of course, I love to get your opinions in the comment section as well, because this is very subjective, you guys. Nobody has a crystal ball. I love to hear your opinions as well, so please let me know what you think. Okay, Courtois, I think Courtois, I'd probably give him a 7. He had I don't think he could have done anything in the goal because the ball was, struck with enough power and was so, accurate right next to the post. I think it'd be difficult for anybody to stop that. I can't really blame Courtois for the goal. He had a 1v1 situation where he showed us his experience, where he sort of held his position. Most goalkeepers would have gone to ground earlier. I think reflexively, he showed his experience and maturity by staying on his feet and holding on a little bit longer. And it was a wonderful save. So I think Courtois had a good match. Didn't have too much to do, but did it very well when he had to. Okay, Carreras. I think a little bit less impressive than previous matches. I think maybe I'd give him a 6 out of 10, something like that. I think he was just a little bit less noticeable, especially in attack. In previous matches, Carreras has been so, aggressive and present in attack. He kind of went up on every single possession, every single attack. He went all the way up and then came all the way back. He seemed to do it less often yesterday. He just seemed a little bit less present in attack. I also thought he had a bit of a cold start. I think it took him a few minutes to get started. So I think Carreras was sort of okay, but not spectacular. Okay, Huijsen, I would say something similar. I think he was okay, but not spectacular. I think he's had better games. I think, he played well. He didn't make any sort of glaring mistakes. He did get caught out a couple of times in defensive transition and sort of had to sprint and recover and sort of struggled doing that on a couple of occasions. So I do think he was, not perfectly placed on a couple of occasions, but I think in general sort of played a decent match. I'd probably give him a 6 or something like that. Okay, Militao, I think, looked a little bit better. I think he looked, quicker than Huijsen. I think he's getting his speed back. He looked faster in defensive transition to me than Huijsen did last night. So I think Militao had a pretty solid game. I'd probably give him a 7 or something like that. Okay, Fede, who played right back but spent a lot of time in the middle of the pitch as well. I thought he was fantastic. I would give him probably an 8, something like that. I think he defended incredibly well. There were a couple of situations where, I think on the TV follows the ball, but in the stadium you can see where they begin their runs, and Fede had a few sort of 50 to 60 meter sprints where he ran. He sprinted so much just to recover a ball a couple of times in really, really timely situations where we were kind of in trouble. I think Fede was wonderful. He covered that right side very, very well defensively, but drifted into the middle a lot. And like I say, had unbelievable sprints where he would just recover the ball after sprinting sort of 50, 60 meters. Very generous contribution by Fede, who yesterday I think had an excellent match. Okay, Tchouaméni, I also would think would be about an 8 out of 10 last night. I think he was great. He was just really firm, very present. He won every single aerial ball, 100% of aerial balls. I think he won most of his challenges. Was well positioned, just seemed to be where he needed to be. Recovered a lot of balls, quick to distribute. I thought Tchouaméni just played a very good game. He's having a fantastic season. Okay, Ceballos on this occasion was sort of so-so. He didn't participate that much in attack. We didn't see him participate too much in the chances that we created. He did defend well, but he did have a couple of ball losses in dangerous situations that really pissed me off. Ceballos is a player that tends to do this. He tends to over-dribble sometimes, and he tends to dribble in places where you're not supposed to dribble. There are places where it's a cardinal sin to put possession at risk, but he did it on a couple of occasions. So I would say he had a so-so match. Played okay. Worked hard, but I think had a couple of mistakes that could have been avoided. Okay, Arda played well, but just not quite as effective as in other matches. I think he was a little bit less precise. Plays very well. He was present, makes himself available a lot. He's very good in possession, very good vision, excellent passing, etc. But I just think that yesterday he was a little bit less present, just less noticeable than in other matches. So I think, I don't know, out of that I would maybe give a 6 or something like that. Okay, Mastantuono, I don't know, maybe another 6 or 7. I think Mastantuono he's very kind of hot and cold. He does a lot of great things, but then will lose the ball very frustratingly in other occasions, or the shot will go astray, or I don't know, or the final pass will be imprecise, or the last dribble won't work. Mastantuono is kind of a little bit hot and cold. I think had a slightly frustrating match from that standpoint. Had a couple of beautiful dribble attempts that if they had worked would have been amazing, but they didn't work. So I mean, he's a player that I think, as I mentioned before, one of these days is going to start scoring ridiculous goals because he does a lot of beautiful shit with the ball. He has a very unique kind of style of play. I find him very intriguing. Like I say, he gets a lot of credit for the energy that he puts in because he works his ass off. You should see how much this guy backtracks. He backtracks. This guy is constantly running when he's on the pitch. He's very, very generous. He has that Argentinian attitude, that very physical, aggressive, which you need to have players like this in your squad. And Mastantuono has this really gritty, edgy thing about him. He's got that Argentinian character. He doesn't give up. He's very physical. 50-50 balls, he's going to win them because he goes in with everything. He goes into every challenge with 100%. He's a player that has just great intensity. But I think yesterday he was just a bit hot and cold. Okay, Vini obviously had a fantastic night. He's the man of the match. I'd give him a 9. Scored the 2 goals, but not just that. He was taking people on over and over and over. It was that Vini of a couple of years ago that just sooner or later he's going to break you down. A couple of years ago when he had that fantastic season, he just kept trying over and over until something happened. And that's the sensation I had last night. He was very active, very involved, very hungry, wanted to make things happen, taking people on. And last night, successfully more often than not. I think Vini had a fantastic match. I think it's good for his morale. I think it's good for the team's morale. And it's good to see him sort of, as Xabi Alonso would say, smiling again. Because Vini is a very emotional player. I think he needs to be in a good mental place to perform. So it was great to see Vini yesterday. Okay, Kylian, what can I say? Kylian is a killer. I think yesterday he was probably not as good as previous matches. I'd maybe give him a 7 or something like that. By the way, Vini, I'd probably give a 9 out of 10. Kylian, I'd probably give a 7 out of 10. He looked really good when he had the ball at his feet. He looks very, very quick these days. He looks very dangerous these days. But he just had a less prolific night than some of the previous matches. So I think he played very well. He had a really, really good game. Maybe not exceptional, but a very good game. Okay, in terms of the subs, not that much to say. I mean, the only person I'll comment on is Jude because I liked what I saw when the minutes he gave us, he looked really good. Jude just has this wonderful technique on the ball that I just find so attractive. There's something so alluring about the way this guy plays. He really brings so much to the squad, and I can't wait till he starts in the starting 11 because he brings so much to the table. He just protects the ball wonderfully, distributes the ball so well, and he's very dangerous in the box. He knows how to finish. So I don't know. The only thing I would mention in terms of substitutes is that I thought Jude looked really good, and I hope we'll see more minutes out of him in coming matches. Okay, we've got the international break coming up, which is very unfortunate. These breaks always come at the wrong time when the team is starting to get positive momentum. So the timing of this break is really terrible, but nothing we can do about it. So hopefully the team, we'll get our players back without injuries. That's always the goal during these international breaks, and let's hope that's the case. But anyway, guys, that's what I think about what happened last night. I would love to hear what you think, so let me know in the comment section. Thanks for joining me as always. I love all you guys, and as always and forever, a la Madrid.